So it seems that the fifth round was super popular for a lot of our ACC players. We're going to talk about some of these individuals, whether it was a hit or miss, and what are the sorts of things that maybe we can find ourselves, especially here in this conference, elevating for the top 1 to 2 days when it comes to NFL draft when it's all said and done. Promise, this is the last NFL draft content talk we'll have for the week. Maybe. We'll try it. See how it goes.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On ACC and Locked On Wolfpack each and every day. You can find us wherever you listen to pods, so make sure you download, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our audio space. Kenton and I have felt like, NFL draft could squeak out one more episode, a little conversation starter, if you will. If you did not check out yesterday's episode talking about the ACC versus the SEC and Big Ten, it was a good one, let me tell you. But today, got a little fifth round action. It seemed that was a very popular space for a lot of our athletes. So we're just going to give you a little hit and miss, live action, quick thought show to round out the conversation towards our 2023 NFL draft tease. Kenton, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go. The fifth round in particular saw, I want to say, what was it, 9 or 10 guys get drafted. And, there was it's players headed all over the place, but it's always good to see this many guys get drafted, this many guys get to accomplish their goal and their dream of hearing their name called, even if it isn't on day one, even if it is on the back half of the draft, doesn't matter. All that matters is that they're getting the opportunity.
100%. And we know that, you're a big Lakers fan, so we're not going to try and keep you too long. We know you got some things to do here. Lakers-Warriors game happening. Are you excited about that or no?
First of all, I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm a Pistons fan. All right, don't disrespect me like that now. You know what I mean? LeBron's my guy and all, but I am a Pistons fan. Don't get that one twisted. But I'm always a fan of high quality sports when there's something on the line.
LeBron versus Stephen seems like must see TV.
Yeah, for sure.
Early predictions. Both guys probably would have gone to ACC basketball schools had they, gone that route.
Would they?
I think so. In today's NIL, Stephen would definitely be like a Caitlin Clark-esque.
I mean, I don't know. LeBron has a lot of love for Cleveland and Ohio and whatnot. So
he would have played basketball at Ohio State.
I highly doubt that he would leave the Buckeyes. I highly doubt it.
I'm pretty sure that grown man would have played for Coach K and played at Duke.
Yeah, well, if ifs was fifths, we'd all be drunk. And yet here we are, sitting very sober. So.
I don't know. I've had a couple tequila shots tonight, so watch back.
Everything getting Cinco de Mayo started early.
Okay, Cinco de Drinko. But first, we're going to talk about round 5. Speaking of a Cinco, Big Cinco is where we saw a lot of our NFL draft guys heading to hear their name called and play on Sundays. I want to get quick hit thoughts from our man Kenton Gibbs here because I personally feel like every single ACC coach called up after the 4th round, like, what y'all doing? Stop playing with our guys. Stop playing on our top and stop acting like we don't have quality players. Because sure, it wasn't soon before long that damn near everyone from the ACC got one guy out of the 5th round.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many calls folks put in. Your players are who they are. And these teams
so you don't think people putting in calls?
Oh, I'm sure they do, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you're talking about the NFL, every coach, I'm sure, is calling all the NFL. Oh, this guy's great. He's wonderful. He's a good dude. He's the kind you want to date your daughter. He's a hard worker. He's everything. No matter.
Why is it always the I want to date the daughter thing? It's just so weird.
It's a very interesting. It's a very interesting character thing that I mean, hey, it's very interesting. I agree. I don't know if I would say the guy that you want to date your daughter necessarily, but that's I get it. It's a long-standing phrase. So
yeah. Well, let's talk about Big Cinco here. Yasir Abdullah out of Louisville. Now, had Louisville had a better season, would Yasir have gone a little bit higher?
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it because at the end of the day, when you look at draft picks and whatnot, it's not really about how their team did. It's about who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if we look at another Louisville guy, did Louisville have a great season when Lamar entered the draft? Not
No.
really. And
Mm-hmm.
yet he was still one of the first 32 off the board. That's just the reality, right? Winning always helps, yes, per se. Like, yes, winning does help move your guys up because it's a winning pedigree thing. But at the end of the day, it's about who you are as an individual because there are some players from some programs that are like, oh, y'all had a real tough one last year, didn't you? And they went much higher than this.
100%. I mean, Yaya Diaby win the third round out of Louisville. He's going to the Bucks. Yasir is going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then it was Clemson that had three guys come out of the fifth round: KJ Henry, Jordan McFadden, and Davis Allen. KJ Henry, I was a bit surprised at the fifth round because of just who Clemson is, and I feel like who this young man was, on paper supposed to be during his time with the Tigers. But we talked a little bit before the show. You felt a little bit otherwise.
I mean, he lacks the prototypical size and didn't have the production. So those are the big things that you look at there. At the end of the day, regardless of how highly touted you were, or regardless of the flashes that you showed, the tape is the tape. That's your resume. That's what these teams are looking at, saying, like, do we need to pick this guy up or not? And I mean, his tape was good enough to get him drafted in the fifth round, which is still an accomplishment. It just wasn't good enough to bolster him into one of those higher slots. And again, this is a guy that is, a little on the small side to be a defensive end or rush or edge rusher, whatever they would like to call outside linebackers these days.
I'm wondering if getting lost in the sauce because everybody on your defensive squad is a beast, that can sometimes happen in terms of production, right? Because you're so used to everyone just being a complete dog that sometimes in the mix of it, you're not as much of a standout.
So here's the very interesting thing about that. I think that it often works in the inverse. And what do I mean by that? So if you're playing next to Brian Bresee and Miles Murphy, let's do some basic schematics, okay? If you're an offense, let's say that there are 4 players that you have to block on this passing play, okay? 2 of them are game wreckers. You know for a fact that if you leave either one of them one-on-one, your quarterback has at tops 2.5 seconds to get rid of the ball. Are you going to double them? Or are you going to double team the guy that's like, he's pretty good. He might get home. He might not. Who knows? So with that being said, the guys, normally the way it works out is the better players kind of free up the lesser players to get in, to look better than what they are per se. It just, again, he just never really put it together in a meaningful way in terms of pass rushing.
I definitely understand and can hear you on that one. Jordan McFadden, I think, sort of had this certain narrative of being dominant, but when it came to just, you look at troubles of Big Stinko, literally, DJ Uiagalelei, and the fact that consistency, it wasn't quite there for him in the offensive line for Clemson as a whole.
Yeah, they were up, they were down. It's Jordan McFadden kind of falls into that category as well, because it wasn't like the offensive line was up and down except him. No, he fell in that category too. He was up and down. He had times where he was dominant, had times where he struggled mightily. So, at the end of the day, he has his opportunity. He's on a roster. And besides, we've seen late round guards do really good things in the past. Looking at you, Nate Davis, going on to become a starter and do really good things for, I believe it was the Chiefs recently. So it's not impossible for him to kind of figure out those inconsistency issues and kind of get better with that, but that's just the reality now.
And then finally, Davis Allen, the Clemson guy out of the fifth round, tight end. Thoughts on him and how he'll deliver for our good friends in Los Angeles?
Is he very fast? No. Is he an amazing route runner? No. But when that ball is in the air, oh, baby, he is something special. And I'll tell you what, for all the flack that Clemson's offensive coordinators caught and all the flack that their play callers have caught recently, he was wide open a lot. He was wide open a lot, which says either their play callers were doing something amazing or he does have a better sense of finding open space than anybody's really giving him credit for. So, this is a guy that when you combine what he can do when the ball is in the air on top of his ability to be good as a blocker, especially with today's tight ends where you rarely see guys who can put their hand in the dirt and do good things. When you see him in that type of situation, I mean, hey, you're getting a real good one here in the 5th round.
100% agree. And I think that ultimately, you got Cooper Kupp in there and you got the other boy who's really good, the Caucasian brethren. What's his name out of the Rams?
Cooper Kupp.
Not Cooper and
Skronik.
Brown hair.
Matt Stafford?
No, not the quarterback. He's not
Tyler Higbee.
Yes. There we go. Well, if you have 2 really fast guys, maybe you don't have to be the 3rd fastest,
I mean, I wouldn't say Higbee's the fastest, but I get you.
So do you think Davis is faster than Higbee?
That's tough. I would say possibly. I don't want to. I'd say probably yes, because he's younger, fresher legs. I give the matchup. Higbee used to be able to move at a high level, but taking all those hits and all that time, it kind of
the high clipping.
Yeah, it slows down on you a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just not what it used to be.
Looking for a delicious snack, but don't want all the sugar and calories, and you need to buy the best tasting protein bar ever, which is Built. You simply have to try the healthy and amazingly tasting protein bar. What makes Built bars so good? Well, for starters, they are covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real dark chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built bars at Built.com, but now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can still get your specialty flavors at Built.com. Go to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box of hit flavors, brownie, batter, puff, or churro puff. Or you can go to Walmart Pharmacy today and get a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. So Sam's, Walmart, Built.com, get yourself together, get the best protein bar ever. Rocking and rolling, talking with Kenton Gibbs. We're talking about NFL draft. 5th rounders seem to be the wave for the ACC. So we're just going to give our hottest takes, right? We talked about the 1st round. We talked about some of the surprises that we've seen. We talked about some guys getting undrafted. This will be our last conversation around the draft. But the 5th round seemed to be kind of the sweet spot for the ACC, and argue about whether or not that is just the testament to how, agents and all the things or teams and organizations feel about the ACC and their respective programs. One person who gets to stay home, though, Izzy. We've always said free our boy Izzy Abanikanda. He is going to the New York Jets. If you've seen the lovely videos of his family being super excited about it, because he'll be right there in his backyard. It is what it is. Interesting that the Jets selected him, considering they have Michael Carter in that backfield. And I think they're pretty much, with the addition of Aaron Rodgers, a real playoff contending team.
I mean, you can never have enough good running backs in today's game. No, you never can. I mean, you look at some of the best teams and what they've done well. They've stockpiled running backs, really good running backs. Look at the 49ers, right? They keep a backfield that's loaded with 2 to 3 guys that can all give it to you in all different kinds of ways. And the Jets have that same thing going with Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Bam Knight, and now adding in Izzy. You have a ton of really good talent in that backfield. And I think that Izzy is a guy that he has the potential to be dynamic. He has the potential to be a game breaker and all that. And also it helps them not have to rush Breece Hall back from his ACL recovery.
That's very true. I think 3 backs is strong, and then 4 backs will be even better. And of course, maybe it gives Izzy an opportunity to be on that practice squad and learn a little bit. But I think he's definitely a contender being in the mix as soon as he gets to camp and he shows off all of his skill set. Talking more about some of the guys drafted in the 5th round here for the NFL draft. Jammie Robinson, he's going to play with J.C. Horn, former South Carolina friend, now Florida State guy, going to the Carolina Panthers. I think that's a great addition for, Panthers, who honestly just need some consistency and flow, right? Need a couple guys who are, excited and available and understand each other's rhythm and pace.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a situation where Jammie Robinson was a ball player for Florida State last year. He was one of the cornerstones of that defense last year. He was a guy that was constantly around the ball, constantly making plays. And so you're not surprised to see a team like the Panthers, to where you have needs everywhere, draft a guy like him who has some versatility. He can play a couple different positions. He can play in the box. He can play high. He can play wherever you need him to. So he's a good fit for pretty much any scheme wherever he goes.
LeBron James. I don't know why that stuck in my head, but I just had to say it because I'm thinking about the Lakers and Warriors game that's happening right now. SirVocea Dennis, linebacker out of Pitt, smaller size, but certainly can be a big impact. We know that Devin, I see his last name in front of my face, requested a trade out of Tampa Bay Bucks. So will it be a rebuilding year for the Buccaneers? Devin White, that is, requested a trade. And we know that Shaquille Bear is going through some things personally, but what do we feel like SirVocea can bring to any program and organization that he's with now, especially in Tampa Bay?
He was the first team All-ACC guy for a reason. Like, this is a guy that I talked about Robinson being always around the ball. SirVocea Dennis is no different. He's a guy that when he's on that field, that motor is running, and it's running hot. He's going to be in the area of the ball every single play darn near. And at the end of the day, that is a great trait to have, because that says something about not only your motor, but also your instincts and knowing how to diagnose plays and where plays are going. SirVocea Dennis is a guy that could turn out to be a really big get in the 5th round, because like you talked about with the linebacker situation that they got going on, it's possible.
Yeah. Dontayvion Wicks, a wide receiver out of Virginia, going to the Green Bay Packers, a team that, ironically enough, was in desperate need of some good, strong wide receivers, according to Aaron Rodgers, of course. But the fact that we had my guy going to the Packers and trying to be a new energy to that organization, it'll be fun to see him play. I think he was probably one of the few bright spots for Virginia last season.
Absolutely. And this is what I talked about in terms of, like, it doesn't matter what type of season you have, because, again, even before everything that had occurred off the field, Virginia's season was a train wreck. It was a nightmare. And yet and still, if you can ball, have game, will travel, right? And that's just the reality. He has game. The NFL found him. He can stick around in the league for a while and do some good things. That remains to be seen. But I'm excited for him nonetheless. Again, they're always excited for these young men getting their opportunity and to get their foot in the door and do good things at the NFL level.
Final two to talk about here. Will Mallory out of Miami going to the Colts. Colts building it up nicely. I think an Anthony Richardson and Mallory combination is going to be nice for those guys in Indy.
I like Will Mallory a lot more than many people do. I don't.
Do you like him more than Davis Allen?
I think that they do different things well, but I don't know about that one necessarily.
Do you like them both more than my boy Wilson from Florida State?
I'll tell you, Johnny. No, are you out of your mind? Are you well? Are you okay? That's not a serious question. That's not fair to those two. But with that being said, Mallory isn't quite the jumper. He isn't quite the, like, hey, I know that the ball is, I know exactly where the ball is. I have amazing body control, but he's a really good route runner. When I've seen him, he really does have a good sense of, like, okay, here's the hole in the zone. The linebacker is creeping towards me. Let me just move over to the left a little bit to create a wider throw window. He is a really, really savvy player who understands the ins and outs of route running at a little bit higher of a level than I would say I've seen out of Davis. But again, they're different types of players. They specialize in different things. Will Mallory's a big body as well. I'd like to see him come along as a blocker, but again, a tight end in the 5th round, he'll have time to do so.
And last but not least, our guy in North Carolina going to the Dallas Cowboys, Asim Richards, offensive tackle. I'm going to leave it right there for Kenton to give his take before I crack a joke. I mean,
the Cowboys are looking to rebuild that offensive line. They have been looking to give that offensive line shots in the arm for quite some time. Their offensive line was aging. That team as a whole was aging, and this is part of making that offensive line younger. I get it. There are some concerns in terms
say it loud and proud with your whole chest.
In terms of his ability to get guys up out the paint in terms of run blocking. There are some concerns there, and the hand placement at times can get like really nasty, like very low and late hands, which are that's probably the worst type of hands to have. But more power to him. More power to him.
I always say you're a brave mother lover if you take anybody off the offensive line from North Carolina. Well, but at the same time, they're still the same offensive line to have Drake getting busy this season. So,
I mean, hey, it's like saying don't take a quarterback from Ohio State. I'm sure that Stroud will excel based upon his own merit.
Wait, what? That's the thing?
Yeah, people say don't take a quarterback from Ohio State because a lot of them have been they've underperformed to say the least. And I don't think that that's fair to anybody, including these offensive linemen from the school Carolina. Out there in Chapel Hill. But yeah, it's a situation where again he can be good. He could be good in the league. I can see it happening. He'll have time to develop behind some like superstars in terms of offensive line. So.
Well, when it's all said and done, listen, this is the nuts and bolts of the NFL draft. We conclude here by talking about fifth round being the strongest, but certainly, again, we had a few guys out of every single one of those bad boys, and we hope to see them succeed and do big things. But if anything, it gets me excited about this upcoming season because I think if for nothing else, this play will be elevated with no divisions and the fact that some of our staple programs, our storied programs like Florida States of the world, could be elevating our national coverage. Drake May coming back. Will he have a sophomore slump? Miami, Mario Cristobal. Is this the time?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I don't want to rule anything out. But like I said in yesterday's episode, when we look at players getting drafted, Mario, brother, you gotta, do the thing. Do the thing. Your backyard is known for being a massive producer of NFL talent, hotbed of NFL talent. Go get them, keep them, build a fence around, as Jimmy Johnson put it, build a fence around the state of Miami, right, which is that South Florida area. Brother, build that fence. Don't let nobody out.
There's something to be said about the fact that Pitt and Pat Narduzzi still have top and that guys going to the NFL more than anybody else here in this conference, considering, especially like Pitt's not the most historically well-known football program, but they do have some studs that come out of that bad boy. I'm not going to take that away from them at all. But in the current ACC outlook, they're definitely not, the first team that comes to mind.
Yeah. They're the most recent Coastal team, or they're going to be the last ever Coastal team to win one, I guess, as it stands in terms of like the divisions that were used to exist. But with that being said, even still, you're right. They're not a team that you think of every year as like they're going to be dominant. Oh boy, you got Pitt on the schedule. Yikes. Go ahead and chalk up an L. They're not quite that team. They are a team that is going to be physical. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be some hitting. You better strap on your big boy pads that day. Very similar to the Adagio Boston College teams, just with a lot more offense. But they're a physical team. They're a team that, hey, I get it. I get why teams want defenders from Pitt, because they are fast, they fly around, and they'll hit you. They'll thud you up. They'll lay the lumber to you, and you may win the game, but you're gonna need that ice tub afterwards.
All right, coming down the pipeline, some more ACC schedule outlooks. We got to talk about Georgia Tech. We got to talk about Virginia Tech. We got to talk about Virginia, your favorites, Kenton. We got to give a little schedule preview. We got to make sure people know just where they'll land. And if you have not checked out all of our ACC football 2023 schedule drops, please go to our YouTube page where we have a special playlist of all of those so you can see our thoughts and you can hear how Kenton loves North Carolina so very much. Especially Mac Brown.
For sure. He's my favorite. Oh, he's my favorite. That old McCullough, that sneaky devil him.
And how it's a put up or shut up year for NC State.
Yeah, I don't know who said that, but
and how it's a year, what are we gonna get from Louisville? Head scratching at best.
That's fair. That's the first statement that's been accurate so far.
But will Clemson just dominate everyone else? That's the real tea.
That's always the question in the ACC. That's always the question. Is it going to be Clemson and everybody else again, or will there be a challenger to rise up and slay the dragon?
I think it's going to be Florida State in the conversation this year.
We'll see.
But no divisions will make it fun for sure. Make sure you guys download, subscribe to the podcast from anywhere you listen to podcasts. Hit up Locked On Podcast Network. You can find us each and every day as your favorite team. Conference does anything that we can. And yes, welcome to the Brahmin Wealth of Kentucky. We'll see. You got to give us your insights here on Louisville.
I love that. That's so good. That's a really good one. Love that.
But make sure you guys check us out, review the episodes, let us know your thoughts, share it with your friends. We always use more followers, subscribers, and all the things. Appreciate the time as always for Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs. Until next time.